Welcome to Intro to Lit. I'm Ms Cara, and this is the Red Couch Reading Room. First, just a few reasons that I am teaching this course. I have a degree in Lit, and I have taught literature probably longer than most of you are alive, frankly. But more importantly, I love the printed word. Can you tell? Not just the thoughts and feelings that are represented, not just the historical context, not just for what I can learn or the enjoyment I get from reading, but because I love ideas. Ideas are the basis for beliefs, which lead to actions, which affect all of our lives. Ideas matter. Even if you love art or science or technology and maybe literature is not really your thing, you're still going to love looking at literature in a way that examines the structures, the context, the reasons behind what was written. Authors give us a glimpse into the window of their soul, and through that we can see reflected the times and place that they inhabited. I hope that by the end of this class you will have some fun learning about people and times and places and ideas, and I know you will have learned a ton, both about what people have thought and how they have expressed those ideas through literature. The more effort you're willing to put into this class, the more excitement you're willing to bring to the table, the more you will leave with as well. That's just the way it works. So I'm here to tell you today 5 reasons you should care and be excited about this course, and then 5 things that you will get to bring to the table to invest in this course. So first, why should you care? Why should you care about lit? First, we talked a little bit about it. Literature explains the past, it explores the present, and it elucidates the future. Through literature, we can discover the thoughts and ideas of others. C.S. Lewis has this great quote. He said, "Those of us who have been true readers our whole lives seldom realize the enormous extension of our being we owe to authors. My own eyes are not enough for me. I will see through the eyes of others." So you'll be able to travel, not just to other places, but to other times, and experience things, inserting yourselves into revolutions, frontiers, prisons. Literally, you can experience the pain of loss. You can experience life as a second-class citizen, the exhilaration of fighting and gaining, overcoming. And those experiences can all be had from the front row seat of your couch. Authors write from experience, from what they've learned, and that brings a reality even to fiction. A book may not be true in a literal sense, and yet have more real experiences and real ideas in it than you can encounter anywhere else. Number 2, literature teaches you to think. Literature doesn't just tell you what the author's message is, it shows you. It helps you to experience that. They want you to get it on an emotional level, right? This helps you develop not only reading comprehension skills, but logic and reasoning. You learn to see allusions and implications of ideas in a way that you can't really do otherwise. A little bit like lifting weights. Sometimes working through those denser passages of reading helps you develop mental muscle. We know that neurons form along the pathways that are used in our brains. And so as you read and work your way through a dense passage of reading, that actually builds the mental muscle that will help it be easier next time. So some of the passages may be difficult. Good. Some of the ideas you meet, you might disagree with. Good. This is the perfect place to meet those ideas. You know, one of the marks of a truly intelligent, truly well-rounded, well-educated individual is the ability to encounter ideas with which they disagree and do it with grace. Besides that, encountering those ideas helps you to defend and understand what you believe, your own beliefs. Number 3, you should be looking forward to this class because literature is going to help you learn to write better. The fact of the matter is there's absolutely no better way to learn to write than to be exposed to good writing. Good literature contains great sentence structure with varied and complex sentences that you will learn to imitate. We will analyze how an author says what they say, and you'll be able to put those techniques, those styles, those literary devices into your own expression toolbox. We'll be taking some of the vocabulary that they use and putting it into your conscious writing vocabulary as well. Good literature even improves your grammar skills. As you become used to correctly formatted English, incorrect usage will begin to clang in your mental ear. If you're writing something oh, that might not sound right to you, you'll realize I need to figure out how to say that in a correct manner. So by reading great writing, you'll put some tools in your own expression toolbox and you can pull them out to use them whenever you need. Number 4, literature is a good friend. When you read great literature, it may challenge you, stretch you, inspire you to do things, prod you to action. Like a good friend, literature will help you become more than you would be without it. And number 5, you should care because literature is art. The classic literature of our civilization represents the very best that each generation has to offer. Important people down through the ages have written down their thoughts and ideas, and it's worthy of thoughtful interaction. Literature rewards the soul that is diligent enough to mine the source. There's virtually no other way to have access to the best and brightest of every generation that's come before us. Mortimer Adler once said, "A book is more like the score of a piece of music than it is a painting. No great musician confuses the symphony with the printed sheet of music." Well, what's written between the covers of the book is the mere score. And when you read the words, when you interact and think with them and begin to digest those ideas, you're playing the symphony. And the world's literature runs the gamut from Gregorian chants to jazz and rock and roll. And it's waiting for you. Now, I bet you're wondering how this is all going to work. So let me give you 5 points on that as well. First, you're going to be responsible for reading great works of literature and thinking deeply. Maybe you're meeting with a group. Even if you're just discussing it with your tutor or your teacher, that's awesome, because when you interact with somebody else over literature, you take it from 2D to 3D. When you add one person's viewpoint, you've improved and increased what you think about it by 100%. So meeting with a group or your teacher, reading it together with somebody is really important. Discuss it as you go. And then in the video lectures, I'll be covering what you've just read, helping you process, think, discuss those ideas, and we'll set up the next week's reading for you as well. Posting some road signs along the way, kind of like a map. Here's what you're going to encounter. Be on the watch for this theme or symbol or motif. Second thing you're going to need to do is you're going to need to take time to think. Please do not finish the reading for that week the morning before you're going to come to the next lecture. Our brain's not like a microwave. You can't put in something, put 2 minutes and 33 seconds on it and wait for the popcorn. That's not how our brains work. Our brains work a little bit more like a crock pot. You have to add the ingredients for your soup and then let them all stew for a while so those flavors get mixed around and create the best result. Okay? So no microwave thinking, no reading it at the last minute. You need to read it actually at the beginning of the week. Try to finish that reading for the week as early as possible. Give yourself at least a couple of days to stir it over in your mind and to think about the questions and ideas that you're encountering. Number 3, there are short reading comprehension quizzes, some vocabulary quizzes that are provided for every meeting. Honestly, I don't know of any other way to give you credit for all the reading you're doing than to take the quizzes. So that's one thing, is so that you can earn some points and credits for reading. But really, another thing that reading comprehension quizzes do, whether we like it or not, is they teach us to be very present in the reading, to be aware of characters, plot lines, ideas, in a way that we just simply aren't if we aren't being held accountable for that information. So there will be weekly quizzes for you to take. And there'll be additional resources. You'll have some vocabulary work, some games, some crossword puzzles, quizzes on those. There'll be discussion questions, study guides, lots of helps to help you wring out the most you can from your reading, and even some writing responses. Hoping to use those same heightened senses and heightened awareness of the way authors use diction as we start going into Treasure Island. Because Robert Louis Stevenson, the author of that great work, is one of the tops at putting together a piece. The imagery he uses is fantastic. You're going to really enjoy it. I'm very excited to get to this point in the class. Yay! We're going to start to read full-length works. So the very first work you're going to go into, Treasure Island, is an exceptionally accessible novel. It's particularly exciting because it pioneered an entire genre, the romanticization of criminals, basically, right? Pirates were criminals. They were robber barons of the sea, like highwaymen of the sea. But if you've ever yo-ho-hoed along with the ride at Disneyland, or if you've ever laughed at the bungling pirates of Peter Pan, or if you thought that Johnny Depp's Captain Sparrow was a hoot, then you should respect this next novel as the original swashbuckling pirate work. When we have Talk Like a Pirate Day, we have Robert Louis Stevenson to thank. He's the guy that told us what pirates talk like. This is the original work that became so popular. It was made into a musical at the turn of from the 1800s to the 1900s, coming into the 20th century. At 1900, it was made into an immensely popular musical, and we're going to talk a little bit about the scenery and the way they did that next week. It was amazing what they were able to do, and it's actually amazing how many people, the percentage of the population that saw that show at the time. So we'll talk more about that next week, but for this week, here's what I want you to be on the lookout for as you start to read. You're going to read only the first 3 chapters of this novel. You're also going to read an essay by a man named Mortimer Adler, a critic and scholar. His essay is about how to read a book. Read that very slowly and thoughtfully. I'm hoping that he will encourage you, along with what I've been telling you, to make notes, to take notes, to read thoughtfully, to be very present in your reading, to try to always be on the lookout for not only the story and the plot line, but the other meanings of the words. And read it twice, okay, if you have the chance. Always read everything twice that you can. So when you get to the novel, here's what you need to know about Treasure Island. It's not really about pirates. It's not really about sailing off to find treasure. It's really about a boy growing up. It's a Bildungsroman novel. We'll talk about that a little bit more, but basically that means a coming-of-age story. Jim Hawkins is our main character. You're only going to read the first 3 chapters, so do read them twice, and you are looking for relationships. So spoiler alert, here we go. Jim, our main character, is a boy who, in the very first couple of chapters that you read, his father's going to die, okay? He is very much bereft, looking for role models, looking for somebody to help him grow up. You can try to kind of think, what age do you think he is? That's a good question to ask yourself as you're going through these first 3 chapters. He is looking for that man who's going to, not take his father's place, but be that role model that's going to teach him how to grow up and be a good man. So there are several important men in this book, and he will have interactions with them kind of one at a time. There'll be serious moments where the book sort of pauses and zooms way in and analyzes an event, a scene between Jim Hawkins and these different men. Dr. Livesey is the first one you're going to see. In the 3 chapters you read, you will meet him and you will see one of the critical scenes with Dr. Livesey this week. Okay, then we'll see Long John Silver in coming weeks, Squire Trelawney, Captain Smollett. So pay attention to what Jim thinks of the people he meets, what he sees that he admires or despises. Those are important thematic elements. And watch for imagery. What do we learn about Jim from what he does in these first 3 chapters? What do you know about him by the end of those 3 chapters? Start to think, how old is he? What kind of a boy is he? He is still a boy, a very young boy, a young man, older boy. So next week we're going to dig down into what you've read in Treasure Island. Going to do some analysis on some various things, and you're going to enjoy this next little bit very much. This week you'll be looking at a schooner that is going to be very much like the schooner they will build to sail off to Treasure Island, kind of learning some of the lingo. We'll have vocabulary assigned this week that will go all the way through the section. So you'll be learning some pirate lingo and really sailing jargon as well. Have fun. See you next week right here in the Red Cat's Reading Room.